Hollywood has convinced millions of people that they understand the military, explosions, heroic speeches, perfect timing, brotherhood forged in dramatic slow motion. But the truth is, most of what movies and TV shows portray about military life is not just exaggerated, it's fundamentally wrong. And those inaccuracies don't just entertain, they reshape public perception, influence young recruits, and create expectations that reality never delivers. When you strip away the soundtrack and cinematic cuts, military life looks very different. The first thing Hollywood gets completely wrong is combat intensity versus waiting. Films make it seem like soldiers are constantly in action, jumping from one high-stakes mission to another with barely a pause. In reality, military life is dominated by waiting. Long stretches of boredom broken by moments of stress. Hours spent standing by, maintaining equipment, or doing repetitive tasks that feel meaningless until suddenly they're not. Combat, when it happens, is brief, chaotic, and nothing like the clean, choreographed sequences shown on screen. The real psychological challenge isn't constant action, it's staying mentally sharp during long periods where nothing happens at all. Another major myth is the idea that everyone in the military is fearless. Hollywood portrays soldiers as emotionally bulletproof, charging forward without hesitation or doubt. The reality is far more human. Fear is constant. Anxiety exists before, during, and after stressful situations. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's functioning despite it. Most service members don't feel heroic. They feel tired, alert, cautious, and often uncertain. Movies erase this complexity, replacing it with one-dimensional bravery that does a disservice to what real strength actually looks like. Hollywood also gets leadership wrong. On screen, leaders are usually loud, charismatic, and inspirational, delivering speeches that magically motivate everyone around them. Real military leadership is quieter and more procedural. It's about consistency, accountability, and decision-making under pressure, not dramatic monologues. Many effective leaders aren't loud at all. They're calm, methodical, and emotionally controlled. Orders aren't followed because of passion, they're followed because systems, trust, and discipline are in place. The myth of the screaming, heroic leader overshadows the reality of leadership built on predictability and competence. Another misconception is how quickly bonds are formed. Movies make it seem like soldiers become family overnight, forming unbreakable brotherhoods within days. While strong bonds do form, they're built slowly through shared stress, routine, and time. Trust develops not from dramatic moments, but from showing up consistently, following procedures, and not becoming a liability. Brotherhood isn't instant, it's earned. Hollywood compresses years of relationship building into a few emotional scenes, creating unrealistic expectations about connection and loyalty. The portrayal of discipline is also deeply flawed. Films often show discipline as harsh punishment, screaming drill instructors, and constant physical suffering. While discipline can be strict, it's primarily psychological and procedural. It's about repetition, structure, and habit. Most of the time, discipline looks boring. It looks like doing the same thing the same way every day, even when no one is watching. Hollywood focuses on extremes because they're visually interesting, but the real power of discipline lies in routine, not spectacle. Hollywood also exaggerates individuality. Characters are often portrayed as rebels who break rules but succeed anyway because they're talented or brave. In reality, rule breaking is rarely rewarded. Systems matter more than individual flair. Success depends on coordination, predictability, and following procedures. Individualism exists, but it operates within strict boundaries. Movies glorify lone wolves, but the military depends on people who can suppress ego and function as part of a machine. Another major inaccuracy is how emotions are handled. Hollywood soldiers are either emotionally explosive or completely stoic. Real emotional control is more subtle. Service members learn to compartmentalize. Feelings aren't eliminated, they're postponed. Stress, fear, anger, and grief are pushed aside to complete tasks, often resurfacing later in unexpected ways. Movies skip this delayed emotional cost. ignoring how psychological strain accumulates over time. Hollywood also misunderstands authority. On screen, authority is often portrayed as abusive, corrupt, or purely antagonistic. While bad leaders exist in any system, most authority in the military is functional, not personal. Orders aren't about power trips, they're about coordination. The chain of command exists to reduce confusion, not to dominate individuals. Movies simplify this dynamic into villains and heroes, missing the nuance of institutional responsibility. Another myth is that military life is constantly meaningful. Films frame every moment as purposeful, symbolic, or life-changing. Reality includes a lot of tasks that feel pointless at the time: cleaning, organizing, waiting, repeating drills that seem unnecessary. The meaning often only becomes clear later, if at all. Hollywood skips the monotony, but monotony is where most mental resilience is built. Hollywood also gets injury and recovery wrong. Characters are wounded, recover quickly, and return to action with minimal impact. Real injuries linger. Physical pain affects mental performance. Recovery is slow, frustrating, and often incomplete. Psychological injuries, especially, are rarely visible or resolved neatly. Movies offer closure. Real life often doesn't. Another area of distortion is motivation. Hollywood suggests people join for honor, patriotism, or destiny. While those reasons exist, reality is more complex. People join for education, stability, family tradition, escape, opportunity, or direction. The concept of sacrifice is also simplified. Films portray sacrifice as a single dramatic moment. In reality, sacrifice is gradual and cumulative. Missed events, strained relationships, physical wear, emotional distance. These sacrifices don't come with applause or music. They happen quietly, over years, and often without recognition. Hollywood also misrepresents silence. Movies fill scenes with dialogue, speeches, and banter. Real military environments often involve long periods of silence. Silence during movement, silence during waiting, silence under stress. Learning when not to speak is as important as knowing what to say. This quiet discipline is rarely shown, but deeply ingrained. Another myth is the idea that military training removes humanity. Movies portray recruits as brainwashed or robotic. In reality, training reshapes behavior, not humanity. Understanding what Hollywood gets wrong isn't about criticizing entertainment. It's about respecting reality, complexity, and the human cost behind the uniform. And once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated with our latest videos on YouTube.